If you're outside North America, there is always a chance that you could run into a bear. Usually they're running away from you. They generally like to avoid conflict. But what do you do if you get into the rare situation where the bear isn't running from you? It's not a one-size-fits-all situation, so you need to learn a little bit about bears and bear behavior in order to figure out what your game plan should be.
My name is Laura Zara.
The most important thing is not dying.
I'm a survival and backcountry specialist.
It is so cozy. It doesn't taste great, but it'll cure all your problems.
I have a hard time explaining what I do and what my life looks like,
but it's way easier to just show you.
In grizzly country, I tend to up the plus on that, learn what it takes to become decivilized.
Here in the US, we have two kinds of bears, black bears and grizzly bears. Brown bears are actually just coastal grizzly bears. They're the same exact species. Black bears are way more common. They have been seen in every state except for Hawaii, but generally speaking, they're found in about 40 out of the 50 states with a pretty decent population. Grizzlies are only found in Alaska, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, and Washington. We're gonna start with the bear that you're most likely to come across, the black bear. Usually you're gonna see black bears running away. They have evolved in forests, so their defense mechanism is climbing trees. Their claws are designed for it, and you don't have as many situations where you have that scary grizzly bear and cubs thing going on because the mama black bear sends her cubs right up a tree and she follows up after them. So they feel safe up there. If you do get too close to the bottom of the tree, she might start acting a little bit nervous, but you just need to give them space.
There's mama bear. Two little cubs are up there.
Bears are a lot like people. You can read their body language and kind of tell what they're feeling. A lot of it's going to be in the facial area. A lot of it's in the mouth. So you'll see like pursed lips. You have that jaw. You might see a little bit of excess salivation, and they're just trying to get you to give them space. I do the same thing. So sometimes I need my space as well. I have been in a few awkward standoffs where the bear kind of didn't know what I was, couldn't really smell me, and there's a huge concentration of berries, tons of bears around, and the bear and I are just there. I know there's bears over here. I don't know where to go. And if I have to move that bear, my personal technique is to howl at them like a wolf. I don't know if they're actually running because they don't like wolves or if they just think that I'm actually insane and they don't want to be near me. Either way, it works. There's been a few viral videos of black bears really coming quite close to people and kind of not stopping and not being scared, and this is most likely because of food conditioning. Any animal is the most dangerous when it's food conditioned. Basically, it makes them lose their fear of people, and actually getting closer to people and intimidating them can create a food reward for them. So they're actually being rewarded for doing things that bears shouldn't be doing. That's a really dangerous bear. This is why bear hangs are so important. If a bear gets a food reward by being close to you ever, so if they're smelling person and they're getting food by being around that smell, it's training that bear that that's a way to get food. So if you are in a situation where a bear gets to your food, you don't want to stick around because that bear is going to be coming back for more. It's now learned that people are a source of food. It sucks for the bear, it sucks for people. I actually hate sleeping in campgrounds because you don't know what the person before you did and if they were safe with their food. So you're a lot more likely actually to run into a problem with a bear in a campsite that a lot of people are frequenting. Grizzly bears. So the first thing you need to do is be able to tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear. If you're gonna be spending time in grizzly country, make sure that you're not just assuming that every color phase black bear is a grizzly bear. They're two completely different species, so learn the difference. Grizzly bears are different from black bears in their behavior, mostly because in a fight or flight situation, they are going to choose fight more than a black bear. They evolved in an open landscape without trees to climb. Their claws aren't good for climbing trees, so they had to defend themselves on the ground. And the way you need to deal with that is by trying to avoid a situation where you're even putting the bear in a fight or flight scenario. You don't even want to have to get to that point with it. That being said, I think grizzlies are really misunderstood. It's not that they have some kind of crazy bloodlust. They actually only have meat as 30% of their diet. They're omnivores, they're opportunistic, and they're largely herbivores and insectivores. So they're not just wandering around looking to eat someone. There's also this kind of subconscious feeling that if you see a grizzly bear in the wild that's attacking you, even if it's just eating huckleberries, there's almost this fear that makes you feel that way. I have seen many grizzlies in the wild and none of them were attacking me. So did I sometimes have to manage my interactions with them? Yes, absolutely. I have never had to use bear spray. I have never had to use a gun. So while I recommend always having one or both of those when you are in grizzly territory, it's not like you're out there just like shooting every bear you see because they're all just coming at you like some kind of crazed video game. It's a backup plan in case that rare occasion happens. Another thing to be aware of is that grizzly bears don't act exactly the same in every area. So in an area like Alaska where there's abundant food and these bears are all used to sharing one resource and tolerating other bears in their space, they're also gonna be more tolerant of people in that space. So they have a different overt reaction distance, which is basically the distance that they're gonna start really making signs that they're noticing you and starting to get a little bit agitated from it. So in a place like Montana where there aren't really abundant resources, the bears aren't as tolerant of other bears, they're not as tolerant of people, so you need to give them more space in that situation. That's why you see these people that are all watching bears in Alaska and they're really pretty close and there's just this whole herd of bears there. It's because they're used to having a lot of food there. So they're gonna act a little bit differently. If you did that to bears in Montana, for example, it wouldn't go as well. Prevention is absolutely key in grizzly country. So you need to be aware. You can't just look down at your feet and not pay attention to your environment. This is your first line of defense and it's really important. If you see fresh bear droppings and tracks, good chance there's probably a bear around. So you wanna really be paying attention. You wanna be looking, you wanna utilize as many of your senses as you possibly can.
Gonna keep looking around because someone is feeding. It's pretty fresh.
You need to realize that if you're moving through willows or really thick brush, that you're basically moving blind, so you're taking your sense of sight out of it. You're not gonna be able to see that bear and avoid it because you might just come around a corner and it's there. If you're wearing headphones, which is a mistake I see a lot, you're also deaf now. And so you're walking around without these really important senses that are gonna allow you to see and navigate a situation with a bear before you're in it. Also use your nose. If you smell something dead, a bear could have also smelled that dead thing and could be eating it. So maybe try to stay away from that area. It's not you just staying aware to notice bears, it's having the awareness to what will prevent the bear from noticing you. If you're walking along a creek or a river and the water's making a lot of sound, a bear's probably not gonna be able to hear you coming. If you are walking into the wind, the bear is probably not going to be able to smell you before it sees you. And bears navigate the world with their noses, so that's kind of creating a situation where the bear doesn't have that ability to know you're coming. You want to try to compensate if you are in that situation by making a lot of noise and using other ways of having the bear know that you're there. But don't use bear bells. Bears are actually more curious about the signs of bear bells than they are scared by the sound of them. So don't buy bear bells. Big myth is that dogs will protect you from a bear, but actually with most dogs, a huge amount of bear attacks happen because the dog goes and antagonizes the bear, and then the bear chases the dog comes right back to you, and all of a sudden you're all there together. So if you do have your dog out, make sure that it's extremely responsive to vocal commands, even with a stressful situation. And also make sure that if you don't have your dog that well trained, it is on a leash. My good friend Brooke Bartleson is an amazing bear photographer as well as a bear guide up in Alaska. I got to go and spend some time camping in the backcountry with her and my friend Heather, where we got to have a pretty incredible but a little spicy interaction with some big coastal grizzly bears.
The bears here have something that we call a very short, overt reaction distance. So the proximity we're able to get to brown bears here and feel comfortable with is significantly smaller than what you might want to experience literally almost anywhere else.
We're by the mouth of a river, and we see these two female bears that are subadults at this point, but they're still pretty massive. We're watching them from a distance, and we see them go up into the densely forested inland area. So we decide it's getting dark, we have to head back to camp, but we don't want to go in through this really thick area of brush that we just saw these bears go to. So we're gonna stick along the coast and make it back to camp that way. As we turned the corner, we noticed that the bears had changed course and decided to come right back down to the beach where we were, but we couldn't see that until we turned the corner, and all of a sudden we're right behind them. Now, we didn't mean to be behind them. The bears didn't know that. When they see us, they realize, okay, we just saw these girls and they were over there, now they're behind us here. Okay, yeah, they're following us. Unfortunately, we put ourselves in a situation where you can't really explain what just happened to the bear. It's already made these assumptions about you, and we have to deal with that. One of the bears was super chill. She's just like sitting on her butt, playing with her toes, like eating grass. But her sister, who was attacked by a big adult male grizzly earlier that year, was definitely not having it. And she was a lot more angry and a lot more aggressive and kind of wanted to come over and make sure we weren't there to bother her and her sister. She kind of comes up to us with this super cocky gait, and she is popping her jaws. She's letting us know that she is not stoked that we're there. She actually moved and started walking parallel to us so that we could see her side and see how big she was, and letting us know that this was kind of her space and we were in it, and did we want to fight, which we didn't. By not backing down, by banging rocks together, by matching her energy by kind of either standing up or crouching down so that we weren't backing down to her challenge, but we weren't being too pushy, we were actually able to de-escalate the situation, and she changed her mind and took off with her sister.
All it took was going from this to this for her to be like, ah, sorry, you guys win.
It totally goes to show that not everything results in an attack, and that through proper communication, you can avoid a violent conflict that seems totally imminent.
So awesome.
So know what bears are in your area, carry bear spray and possibly a gun as a last resort in case things turn ugly, but know that you're probably never gonna need to use them because attacks barely ever happen. Bears are in your area, carry bear spray and possibly a gun as your last...
Kind of looked like you fell.
Oh, did it?